I want to show you, just to get started, because I'm going to be working with this sequence, a little bit of the footage that I'm working with here, so you can kind of see what this piece is.
All these questions about, like, are you enough? What are you going to do with your life? When I am on that seam between...
We've got some cool titles.
It gives me a different perspective that I really value. We need nature to thrive.
All right, so it's a pretty basic piece. You guys can see there we've got different cameras, different setups. We've got nice little graphics and a nice little mix going with some music and vocals, right? So one of the biggest features that we've added in this release is our shot comparison and color matching tools. So we're kind of building on what we've been working with on the past few years with the Lumetri color engine. And so they kind of work hand in hand. So when I jump into comparison view, you now have a side-by-side reference and current playhead frame. And so this is useful for obviously things like color matching, but it can also be used for things like effects, like blurs, scaling, repositioning, with this little button here. So this will toggle between shot or frame comparison. So when we're in this mode, we're seeing the same shot, and the right side is anything we've done to it, like scaling, repositioning, blurs, any other effects. And when you click it into this mode, you're comparing it to another shot in the timeline. And like you might expect with color comparison tools, we have these buttons here in the middle. So if you want to do a wipe from side to side or top to bottom, or just a full side to side, and like you see on the left there, my scopes are updating to show that. In this timeline here, you can see I've got a bunch of different camera angles, and they aren't matching very well. So let's work on these two. So I like where I'm at with this one. It's a nice, good balance on his face, but then this shot is obviously warmer and not matching. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on this shot, and then using these controls on the left side, I can jump between the shots in the timeline to see which one I want to reference and work off of. So I'm going to jump to this one, which I sort of like. And then over in the Lumetri panel, if you guys have used this before, it's still the same sort of layered interface here that you can toggle open, but we've updated the color wheels section to be color wheels and match. The automatic color matching in this section, because the elements that the matching adjusts are the color wheels and the balance. So you'll notice there's a checkbox here called face detection. This is the beautiful Adobe Sensei machine learning technology that we have, and it's identifying faces in the scene so that it can give some weight to the skin tone instead of just looking at all the pixels and maybe being fooled by something bright in the background. So I'm going to leave that on, and I'm going to click Apply Match. One of the best things about our color matching software is that it's not just a black box. So instead of just being an effect that you can't change or tweak, you can see here with the midtones, shadows, and highlights, we've actually adjusted the color wheels as well as the levels to try and match it. And so what's great about that is if we aren't 100% there, it's a small tweak to get it there. So in this case, I'm looking at the right side, and I think it's still a little green. So I'm going to take the midtones and just kind of push them purple a little bit. And maybe take them down a little bit. And that's not a bad match. I like the, the nice kind of sunny, glowy look we have going on here. And on the right side, these were shot at different times of the day, but on the same camera. So let's try the Apply Match and see where we end up. Not bad. So that's what we're really excited about with this color matching feature. Even if you're not doing final color, this can save you from having to tool around in everything and try and find where all the sliders are. And if it doesn't nail it, it'll get you most of the way there, and you can tweak it from there. Hey, can you make it look like this movie? Here's a still from my favorite movie that they took from Netflix, right? And so a great use of this is on the left in the reference here. This is a still someone gave me, and they said, make it look like this, right? So my footage looks like this. And let's turn off face detection for right now and hit Apply Match. And that gets us, again, most of the way there. So that's a quick, easy way to bring in a reference, just put it somewhere in your timeline, make sure that the left side reference is on it, and then you can apply it to your color to get the match of the look you're going for. There was basically no way to move these sequence markers, right? We have the markers panel, but there was no way to copy and paste these. If you needed these in another sequence, you basically just had to duplicate your sequence. We added this little guy here under markers that says, when I'm copying and pasting either a clip or an in-to-out section, go ahead and take the markers with it. And wherever you drop them, they'll also be pasted. So I'm going to grab these clips, drop them over here, and you get your markers with them. So that works between sequences or later on in the sequence. That'll go with it. So that's one of my favorites. How many of you guys have ever used iPhone footage in Premiere? Yes, it's an unfortunate fact. Yeah, that's what I thought. The bummer thing about most iPhone footage is it's a variable frame rate, right? To save on compression space and everything like that, the iPhone will average its frame rate out as it goes, if not too much is changing. But Premiere wants everything to be a fixed frame rate because we're editing frames, right? So what can happen before this release is if you bring in iPhone footage, sometimes the audio sync will drift. And this is because the frames are moving at a different averaging frame rate compared to the audio. So with this new release, we've added a feature, and it automatically detects whenever you have iPhone or any other footage with variable frame rate in the metadata. And what we will do, it doesn't demo very well because the sync is just, it's slight, but it can really bite you on longer clips. But what we'll do is in the effects panel here, we will add at the master clip level this variable frame rate effect, and you have two options. You can preserve the audio sync, or you can have smooth video motion. So we're giving you the choice. Before, basically, the default behavior was just to smooth video motion, which was basically meaning we would play every frame. And if the frame rate was supposed to vary, that would lead to sync issues. So if you'd rather preserve audio sync, that's the new default option. But if you do want to see every frame, because sometimes preserve audio sync will have some stuttering because we're forcing the frames that we're varying to be on a fixed ratio. So depending on what you need, you can choose that now. Small features. In this new release, we've updated our timecode panel to be extremely flexible. So you see here by default, we have 3 rows. We can make it longer and add more rows. And when we add a line, you have all of these options here as to what you want to display. You can choose any of these, into outs or whole timeline. You can choose which tracks. These would normally be, video 1 through 3, but we've named the tracks in this project. So those are the different tracks, audio and video. So say that I want to see from my red camera, and I want to see the clip name. So in this case, this is not a good example timeline because we only have the one video down there, but you can see how it's showing me the clip name. Or another good one is the top clip name. So as you're going through your timeline, you can see how this is adjusting based on the name. So there's almost infinite ways you could customize this. Another common workflow this will help you guys with, if you're ever doing anything for broadcast, you might be cutting in a 23976 timeline, but you need to know how it times out in 2997. And before, we really didn't have a good option for you, but now just open the timecode panel, add a line, and have the line display your master timecode, but just put it in a different format. And we'll even color it yellow there to remind you, hey, that's not actually what you're actually cutting in. And so this timecode panel is extremely flexible. In addition to this sort of large one, for larger displays, we have a compact mode. And also, if you just put it into a different ratio, we'll just do it linearly like that. And so you can get it nice and cozy. And I even built a little workspace here to show you how that might work if you want to just keep it tucked under there. And obviously, I have a little bit too much in there now. This is actually my favorite thing that we added in Audition this year is this new tracks panel. So if you've ever done a lot of mixing, you know that even with this, you can see we have way too many tracks to kind of keep track of. So the tracks panel here gives you a bird's eye view of everything and lets you modify what you're actually seeing. So say that I just want to work on dialogue. I'm going to take these guys here and these submixes that came over from the Premiere project and just turn them off. And now I have a leisurely dialogue-only editing mix. And what's even cooler about that is everything still plays, right? You're not actually muting or soloing anything. You're just visibly in the main mixing interface hiding those tracks. So with modern Mac hardware and modern Windows hardware, we're mostly at feature parity in terms of how things perform. So there's benefits using a Windows computer, but those are the same for any program. Like if you want to build your own computer or spec out different hardware, or go with what Apple sells. But we support both systems. You can move projects freely between the systems. As long as you have a drive through media that can be read on both, we're good to go. Oh, I have one little tiny thing that you guys might love as editors, because I was excited when we added this. As you're dragging a clip up and down, if you hold the shift key, it will now snap to where it was vertically, so that, so that you didn't have to, accidentally bump it and swear at the computer. So even if you've, moved it halfway, you can still hit shift and snap it back. That works with multiple clips. We at Adobe really like hearing from you guys. So, we've always tried to stay open on Twitter and email and things like that. But we've added a new website for you guys. We're using a platform called User Voice. And the idea behind this is to give sort of a Reddit-style upvoting system where anyone can come to the site and say, here is a feature I'd like added, or a workflow change I'd like done. And then we can, instead of us having to keep track of exactly everything and trying to surface everything, the community can upvote things as they see, and that gives us a much clearer picture of what's most important to the community. And it serves as a public-facing way to sort of get direct feedback from you guys. And you'll even notice that our managers are active on this and will even reply. So if people are really excited about ProRes RAW, it's already got 233 votes. It was just announced last week. And you can see Patrick Palmer here, one of our senior product managers. He said, cool, we're looking into it right as we speak. So we want to even increase the more direct and public feedback we can give you guys. So check out adobe-video.uservoice.com. Also, if you don't remember that, just Google search User Voice Premiere Pro. It'll come up. And we even are doing it for some of the other apps we do as well. So if you go here, we can have Media Encoder, After Effects, Audition, et cetera. So just wanted to plug that real quick so we can hear from you guys.